Consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. If then God so clothed the grass, which is today in the field and tomorrow is cast into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, O ye of little faith? And seek not ye what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, neither be ye of doubtful mind.
This is our kingdom, a kingdom of righteousness. Praise the Lord. Praise ye the Lord.
For all these things do the nations of the world seek after, and your Father knoweth that ye have need of these things. But rather seek ye the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. To the kingdom of Israel!
Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua, Yahweh Hashem, Yahushua.
The election, an aristocracy, meaning rule of the best, a group or class considered superior to others, a government by the best men in the state, a governing body composed of the best men in the state, and that's the elect. We're about to have it all right? Psalms 37 and verse 11, and it reads, "But the meek shall inherit the earth, and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace." That word for peace in the Hebrew is shalom, which goes into safety, soundness in body, meaning we're going to truly have rest, welfare, health, prosperity, peace, quiet, tranquility, contentment. So we're going to fully enjoy the planet Earth. We're going to rule and exist within the Lord's creation as we were created to do. I'm ready to rule the world, man. How about you?
Let the golden light of this sunset guide our hearts in peace.
Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Sell that ye have, and give alms. Provide yourselves bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth, neither moth corrupteth. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
The ocean spirit dances today to abundance and joy and to eternal peace.
See, this is what we're hoping for. This is part of our hope. Not only that we're members of the elect, with fruits meet for repentance, like John the Baptist said, but from our low estate, because we've been brought low, even though we have this knowledge, we have this truth. Remember what it said in Revelation. I know thy works in tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Why are we rich? Because we're rich in faith. We have this knowledge. So our hope is at our last end, we're going to be increased. Okay? And if you ask me, the greatest riches right now is to be delivered by Yahushua, is to get that new body that the Apostle Paul spoke about in 1 Corinthians 15th chapter, to get that. Get that new body where we'll never be sick, we'll be immortals, like it said in 1 Corinthians 15, to be delivered from coming destruction, and to be a part of Yahweh's cabinet in the next kingdom. Okay, those are the real riches right now. That's what we want to get. Because if you get that, you got everything. I mean, you got everything. Okay, so our sights are set a lot higher than this present world. All right, as it is written, the fashion of this world shall pass away. We are individuals of vision, and the scripture said where an individual lacks vision, he perishes. Okay, so we can see the future, right? And we hope that we're going to be part of it, beginning with the elect.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing the word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Makakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful lake, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right. And what I want to get into with this live screen, this edition, morning news and prophecy, the World War III update, back at it, just looking at, these last few days. Okay. We're seeing a development to where there's a fight over the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. Between America and Iran. So when you ignore the news and just look at what's actually happening, it's painting a story of, things that it paints a story of where nations stand, and it paints a story of what's actually being fought over. Okay. Because like we said, America's initial agenda was to do a regime change, and that would have gave them full power over the Strait of Hormuz. Because right now, before February 28th, America had, power over the GCC nation, which is on the west side of the Persian Gulf. If they would have got the regime change in Iran, they would have had control of the east side of the Persian Gulf. Okay. And they would have had full control of their flow or the Strait of Hormuz, to where America could have had the on and off switch to the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. But right now, Iran has their on and off switch because the regime change failed. Okay. And the war and the bombing campaign that America unleashed on Iran, it failed too, because Iran still emerged with control of the Strait of Hormuz. So now we're seeing the fight for the control over the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, this is what the back and forth we're seeing, all right, playing out. Because what you have is America is trying to push ships through the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran is hitting those ships. And then America will try to strike, the coastline where Iran has all these launchers on the coast, where they're able to hit these ships from anywhere. So Iran to hit these ships, okay, because Iran, is maintaining what dominance over the Strait of Hormuz. Like, look, nothing move unless we say so, and if you move without our authority, you get hit. And that's what Iran has been maintaining. So they're hitting these ships that America is trying to push through, and then America hit Iran, and then Iran began to attack American military bases in their region. Okay, so what we've seen now is a battle for the Strait. Okay, because that's a major energy choke point. Okay, and that plays a major factor in global dominance, man, because these nations are fighting for position in this new world order. Okay, and who controls the Strait of Hormuz has a lot of leverage going into the new world order, man. Okay, and behind Iran is what? China and Russia. Okay, everybody wants to go to the table, the negotiating table, with as much leverage as possible, man. So what we're seeing now is the fight over the control of the Strait of Hormuz. You see, now um, let's go here, and at the end of the day, this is just a battle that's going to lead to America being destroyed. You know, the reason why we go into these things is because it's leading to the ultimate destruction of America, the fall of Esau, Edom's empire, and the fall of all these heathens, man. Okay, so let's get into scriptures when you go to Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse um, Jeremiah 50 and 21. What double rebellion? See, America has been the land of double rebellion. You see, Babylon, you go to ancient Babylon, okay, the tower, they were trying to build during that time. Well, there was a rebellion against the Most High. Well, this time you have Babylon the Great, okay, which is America, and they're in double rebellion, a global technocracy, man. You see? So this place is in double rebellion. It says, go up against it and against the people of Pekad, which Pekad in the Hebrew goes into punishment or visitation. Because the Lord's finna visit this double rebellion with what? A punishment, man. Okay, and this war is leading, to that ultimate punishment, which is the nuclear annihilation of America, man. Okay, and America has walked into a trap, as we're going to get into. It says, kill and utterly destroy them, says the Lord, and do everything that I have commanded you. So these nations are moving to the commands of the Lord. Okay, the reason why Iran is souped up, Russia is souped up, China is souped up, Turkey on deck, okay, North Korea on deck, Pakistan souped up, okay, India on deck. The reason why is because it's the command of the Lord. The Lord is orchestrating this, man. Okay, Esau is he's just playing his role within the overall agenda of the Most High. Okay, Esau not doing nothing great. He's just playing his role within the agenda of the Most High, man. Okay, and he loses. All right, no, there's no one that takes a loss like Esau, in the judgment that's coming to the earth, man. It says the noise of battle is in the land and the sound of great destruction. Okay, and you look at these wars which are being fought with missiles, man. That's becoming a soundtrack for their region of the earth, man. Okay, it's for these constant drone and missile strikes. That's becoming the soundtrack for their region. Okay, and that's the noise of battle in the land, and it's going to escalate all the way up into the great destruction, okay, of nuclear missiles, man. You see, it says how the hammer of the whole earth, okay, is crushed and broken. You see, so the Bible asks the question, how's the hammer of the whole earth is crushed and broken? How Babylon has become a horror, a desolation among the nations. So the Bible poses a question, and then it goes into the process of the question being fulfilled. Okay, so it asks the question, how the hammer of the whole earth, all right, is crushed and broken. So when you go into it, I set a trap for you and you were caught. Yeah, so America has walked into a trap. You see, America stepped into this war February 28th, and we're in the middle of July. Okay? So this trap that the Lord set has a hold on America, man. And see, America took the bait. You see, the West, all right, they wanted full control of their strait because they had just, went and toppled Venezuela. They got the puppet in place in Venezuela to where, they have access to all that oil, all that energy. Okay. And then in their mind, well, look, let's go straight to Iran and do the same thing. It was a trap, because even the whole Venezuela thing, the Lord put that in place to hype Esau up, you know, to go for this move, man. But this was the trap, like playing chess. You put certain pieces, you put certain pieces into place, to make their piece vulnerable. But then if they take that piece, well, you already got another play to take that piece. You see? So the Most High is playing the chess game, and he's so many steps ahead of Esau. Esau was just a piece on the board. Okay? And now he's done went over here to this region and started this war with Iran. Okay, and there's no getting out of it. Okay, so now he has to try to establish his technocracy while in the midst of this trap. You see, Esau plate is full. Esau, like I said, Esau is not somewhere comfortable in the lounging and just chilling as his master plan is playing out. No, this nigga's in a trap. He got to throw up this technocracy. Why he got to deal with this problem with Iran? Then you got Russia and China getting boldened and breaking away from, you see, because now as these nations see weakness, all right, they're beginning to form alliances against, the West, man. And it's all according to prophecy and scriptures. Okay? So America, they done walked into this trap. It said, I said a trap for you, and you were also caught, O Babylon, and you didn't know it. You have been found and also seized because you have struggled against the Lord. Yeah, see, this is the thing I have to understand. The Lord is pissed. Okay? And America is going to be the main nation that gets the bulk of the Lord's wrath, man. You see, and the Lord has America set up for failure, man. Okay? All these little gimmicks and schemes that the elites are used to just pulling off and executing and see, man, now the anger of the Lord is in effect, man. Okay, there's a punishment for being rebellious and pushing rebellion against Yahweh Bashim al-Shai. Okay? Esau's finna go out in a very embarrassing fashion, man. Okay? And this man, he's walked into this trap and ain't no getting out of it, man. They what you call an escalation trap. And all these nations are in it. Russia's in the escalation trap. It can't bag out of this war with Ukraine. America can't bag out of this war with Iran. Iran can't bag out the war with America, man. Everyone's in this escalation trap for the sake of prophecy, man. The Lord's will going forth. Okay? Verse 25 said, the Lord has opened his armory and had brought out the nations, okay, who unwillingly, all right, it says who selected. The Lord has opened his armory and has brought out the weapons of his indignation, which are the nukes. And these nukes are going to be shot off by what? These different nations. And you read in the parentheses, it says the nations who unknowingly are the weapons of his indignation. Okay, because these nations have their own agenda and their own ambition within the New World Order, but not knowing that they're being used as weapons by the Lord. Okay, that's why I say the reason Russia, Iran, China, these nations souped up like they are, the Lord got them souped up because the Lord's going to use these nations, all right, as weapons against Babylon, man. And these nations possess their ultimate weapon, which is the nukes. Okay, and the hypersonic projectiles to get these nukes over here, okay, swiftly, man. Okay, it said, for it is the work of the Lord, power of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans, man. So we're watching our power at work. Okay, on the level, the elites are doing their thing, but ultimately we're watching our power at work. We're watching the Most High at work. We're watching Yahweh Shai at work, man. Okay, and the elites, they're playing their role within the agenda. You see, they're not on the outside making moves of what the Lord got going on. No, they're within what the Lord is orchestrating, man. So we're watching our power at work. That's why I say, for it is the work of the Lord, the power of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans, man. Okay? And see, what we're seeing is the elites are not all powerful, man. They're not in control of everything, man. Okay? I said, these devils, they only have a few moves left, man. You know, before their checkmate. You see? And it's like this nigga just looking at the board. Nigga, it's over. Okay? You Edomites, you elites. Okay? It's over. All right? You can look at the board from whatever angle you want. It's over, man. Prophecy got you checkmated. Okay? Jeremiah 15:26 says, come against her from the farthest border, open her storehouses, pile it up like heaps of rubbish, burn and destroy her completely. Let nothing be left of her, man. And this is the sentence, all right, that the Lord has for America, man. Okay, and these nations that the Lord is raising up to form this alliance, well, they're going to fulfill making America piles of people, rubbish, man, and destroying it completely, man. You see, verse 27 says, kill her young bulls, all right, her strength, her young men, all right, because American military personnel is finished. You know, when they attempt their ground invasion in Iran, they're through. There's a suicide mission, man. Okay, it's gonna be a slaughter. And that's why I say let them go down to the slaughter. So however many men, okay, and women, they send over there for this ground invasion, man, it's just gonna be a slaughter. Okay? America finna lose bad, man. Okay? America's finna be embarrassed. The elites finna be embarrassed, man. Okay? For attempting this dumbass New World Order. Okay? It says, whoa, judgment is coming to the Chaldeans, for their day has come, the time of their punishment, man. And the Chaldeans, you know, were the warlocks and the astrologers and you see, the wizards of the ancient, the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Okay? Was just the elites of today. So the Lord's finna punish the elites in the earth, man. The elites, you know, they say the Lord's gonna use them to bring mass judgment. You know, they're gonna wreak havoc, especially on the civilians in America, to try to get to create this desperation to bring about, you know, the mandate of this technology, man. You know, so they have a few more. You know, Esau got a few more lines in the movie. You see, he got a few more scenes left in the Lord's movie before he is punished, man. Okay, but he don't got much left, man. He don't got many cards in his hand. He doesn't have many moves on the chessboard. Okay, and he's out of gimmicks. You see, so verse 28 it says, no, that was it. So let's go from there. I want to play this, okay? Because what we're seeing, because how what we're seeing with this war, just like a chess game, you know, brothers play chess. You know, like if you play one game, then you go to another game, and your opponent come out with the same move. You know, what we seen with Iran, they coming out with the same move, you know, that they made in the first, okay, well, in this last round of war, which is to begin to destroy, okay, Americans' radars, okay, in these different regions to make them blind. So when Iran started to come with these wave after wave after wave of ballistic missiles, okay, America is in the blind. Okay, so let's go here real quick, because they're doing the same thing that they were doing back in February, well, in March, you know, beginning of March. Okay, so let's play this.
Corporate media machine is doing everything in its power to bury this story or twist it into something it's not. What we witnessed overnight wasn't just another skirmish in an endless war. It was a tectonic shift in the balance of power in the Middle East, and the empire is scrambling to figure out how to spin this disaster. For weeks now, the war propaganda machine in Washington and Tel Aviv has been feeding us a steady diet of lies about how Iran was finished, how the Islamic Republic was on its knees, how the maximum pressure campaign had finally broken the back of the resistance. They wanted you to believe that the occupation forces and their American puppet masters had achieved something historic, something decisive. But here's the thing about arrogant empires. They always underestimate the will of people who refuse to bow. And what we saw unfold over the past 48 hours wasn't just a retaliation, it was a declaration. A declaration that Iran is not finished, that the resistance is alive and well, and that the so-called axis of resistance has teeth that can bite back harder than anyone in the Pentagon ever anticipated. So let me break down exactly what happened, because the mainstream media is going to sanitize this. They're going to downplay it. They're going to make it sound like these were just minor incidents or limited exchanges. Don't you believe a word of it. Overnight, while Americans were sleeping, while the world was distracted by whatever shiny object the corporate press dangled in front of them, Iran's military launched one of the most coordinated, devastating, retaliatory strikes we've seen since this war began. We're talking about simultaneous missile and drone barrages hitting American military facilities not in one, not in two, but in 4 different countries across the Gulf region. Jordan, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Oman all came under fire. And here's the part that's going to make the war hawks in Washington choke on their coffee. These weren't symbolic strikes. These were precision operations targeting some of the most sensitive and strategically critical American military assets in the entire region. Let's start with Jordan. Iran's military announced that its aerospace forces successfully struck the Prince Hassan Air Base with a combination of missiles and drones. Now, what did they hit there? They set fire to several large missile silos and fuel storage depots. That's not some empty warehouse in the middle of nowhere. That's the kind of infrastructure that keeps the American war machine running. Those fuel tanks, those ammunition depots, that's what powers the jets that drop bombs on Iranian cities. And Iran just showed them that their supply lines are not safe, not anywhere in the region. But that was just the first phase. The second wave targeted the Sheikh Issa Air Base in Bahrain. And this is where it gets really interesting, because Bahrain is home to the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet. This isn't some minor outpost. This is the nerve center of American naval power in the Persian Gulf. Iran's military struck helicopter maintenance and repair facilities. They hit a hangar housing a P-8 electronic warfare aircraft. That's a cutting-edge surveillance plane worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And they took out a drone command and control center. In other words, they systematically dismantled the infrastructure that the Americans used to project power in the region. Smoke was seen rising from the U.S. Navy 5th Fleet Base. The sheikhs in Bahrain can play host to the American military all they want, but they just learned a hard lesson. When you let the empire set up shop in your backyard becomes a target. The third phase of this operation focused on Kuwait, and this is where things get really embarrassing for the Pentagon. Iran's military announced that they had completely destroyed fuel tanks and Patriot air defense systems at the Ali al-Salem Air Base. Let that sink in for a moment. Patriot systems are supposed to be the crown jewel of American air defense, the system that's supposed to shoot down incoming missiles. And Iran just blew them up on the ground. Not only that, but they also took out a strategic FPS radar system at the Ahmed al-Jaber Air Base. That's the kind of radar that gives the Americans early warning, that lets them see threats coming. Without that, they're flying blind. And if that wasn't enough, Iran's ground forces also destroyed 2 HIMARS missile launchers and set ablaze ammunition depots packed with missiles. HIMARS, those are the same systems the Americans have been using to strike targets inside Iran. The irony is just delicious, isn't it? But the Iranians weren't done. In Oman, they struck and destroyed an FPS long-range aerial radar and a vessel detection radar. Those radar systems were critical for monitoring the Strait of Hormuz, the waterway that carries 1/5 of the world's oil shipments. And speaking of the Strait of Hormuz, Iran's military made it crystal clear that the strait would remain closed to American and allied shipping until the U.S. ends its military interventions in the waterway. They said, and I quote, "The only way for the Strait of Hormuz to be reopened for vessel traffic is for the interventions of the invading American army in this strait to end." That's not a threat. That's a statement of intent. Brent crude jumped 4.3% to $79.31 a barrel. The global economy is going to feel this one, folks. Now, here's what the...
So I just wanted to play that to show you how Iran, how they coming out, because it's their first move. So they're doing just like they did, all right, during the beginning of March, which is to destroy a lot of radars, missile defense, okay, drones, and it's making America blind, to the waves that Iran could send day for day now. And they've been going at each other, for the last 4 or 5 days, you know. So it's been a back and forth, all right. And what Iran has been doing is systematically just breaking down America's ability to wage war. That's why America had to tap out last time, because they were losing their ability to actually wage any type of war, because their assets was being destroyed every day. Fighter jets was being taken down, refueling jets was being taken down. Okay, the radars was out the way. The small hats was getting pummeled, and that's another thing too. Nobody talk about this. Now, them tough ass small hats, you see, they ain't jumped in this shit because they still ain't recovered from the last round. Now, tough as they are when it come to blowing up civilians and southern Lebanon and blowing up apartments and bridges and killing civilians, tough as they is when they do that, you see, they ain't laid a hand on Iran. They ain't came to America's help at all. Here it is, the small hats drug America into this shit. Now the small hats not even helping America. Okay? Because why? Iran has created deterrence. Okay? Because the small hats can't pay the cost of striking Iran. It can't hold up. You see, these heavyweights fight. All right? The small hats are lightweight, featherweight. Okay? Those airstrikes only get you so far. But when you have to deal with a retaliation, then that's different. So you can airstrike civilians and apartments and, neighborhoods that can't retaliate. But see, when you got to strike someone that can retaliate, it's a different story. And Iran will show that they can punch with the heavyweights. Okay. And you see the small heads, you ain't heard a peep from them. Okay. They drug America into this war and left their ass over there, man. Okay. You see? Well, they did. That's something nobody talking about. These tough ass small hats, man. That's why I be saying, goddamn, if they is half as tough as they is, where they at? Okay, this is the perfect opportunity for them to start getting off on Iran, since America already attacking, but they don't want that. All right, they know Iran punch like a heavyweight. You know what I'm saying? And then our small hats, they too light in the ass, man. You see? So now let's go from there and show this move that's been that Russia just made, okay, dealing with Iran. Okay. So let's play this. A few minutes of this.
In a stunning move, Russia has dispatched its doomsday plane to Tehran amid fresh military escalation in the Middle East. The arrival of a highly specialized Russian government aircraft in Iran has triggered fresh speculation over deepening Russia-Iran coordination as tensions between Iran and the United States continue to spiral. Flight tracking data indicates that a Russian Tu-14PU airborne command and control aircraft landed at Tehran's Imam Khomeini International Airport, just as U.S.-led military operations against Iranian targets continue while Iran mounts retaliatory operations. The aircraft's appearance has drawn widespread attention because it is rarely deployed for routine diplomatic travel and is generally reserved for high-level government or military missions. According to publicly available flight tracking information, the aircraft, operating under the call sign RSD-420 and belonging to Russia's Rossiya Special Flight Squadron, flew across the Caspian Sea before landing in Tehran. Reports indicate it deliberately avoided other regional airspace, a route that has further fueled speculation about the sensitivity of its mission. The aircraft arrived as the United States continued strikes targeting Iranian air defense systems, missile launch sites, and drone infrastructure following renewed hostilities.
You're invited to join Phoenix Energy's next webinar, where you can drill deeper into our bond offerings. We currently offer 2 investment opportunities.
Defense analysts say the aircraft's...
If a brother could post that Isaiah 21 and verse 2. You know, Isaiah 21 and 2, Bible the shot.
presence in Tehran is particularly significant because it is usually associated with sensitive government or military engagements rather than standard diplomatic visits. Experts believe its sophisticated communication systems could facilitate confidential discussions between senior Russian and Iranian officials while minimizing the risk of electronic surveillance or interception. The deployment also comes against the backdrop of steadily expanding defense and security cooperation between Moscow and Tehran in recent years. Neither the Russian nor the Iranian government has officially disclosed the purpose of the visit. While there is no evidence that the aircraft is directly participating in military operations, its arrival at such a volatile moment is expected to be closely scrutinized by Western governments and intelligence agencies monitoring military activity across the Middle East.
The standoff between Washington and Tehran has taken another explosive turn. As military tensions continue to intensify, Iran has delivered a fresh warning, declaring that any attempt to target the country's top leadership would trigger a swift and overwhelming retaliation.
So, going back to this military plane from Russia, you'll look at it and be like, well, you know, it's just one plane. Well, with this plane is meant to be able to have high-level conversations that can't be intercepted. Okay, so the plane is made for Russia, you know, government and military officials to have talks to where they can't be intercepted. Okay, so they flew this plane to Iran, and what you think Russian leaders and Iran leaders are talking about? Russian military and Iran military talking about, man. You know, so they can have a conversation that can't be intercepted, okay, in this plane. You see? So this thing is getting ready, everything can only escalate. Like we said, they can have a ceasefire, but when they go back to war, it's going to pick up where they left off. You know? So you can have ceasefires here and there, but every time they go back to war, they're going to pick up where they left off and escalate to another level. Okay? So with Russia bringing this plane in, this fully shows that Russia is actively engaged with helping Iran, which we knew they was giving intelligence, all right, to Iran, you know, for targets. But now, what conversations are they having, you know, in this, you know, this high-tech plane? What type of conversation you think they're having? Well, it's conversation concerning prophecy, man. Okay, so let's get this. It's from the brother Anah, GMS All In 144 says Isaiah 21 and 2 says a grievous vision is declared unto me, the treacherous dealer treacherously, and that's America. You know, because America is known for treachery, man. The way that America deals, you know, the way that the American government deals throughout the earth is known for being treacherous, man. You know, and for a long time, you know, nations let it slide. But now it's a different spirit in the earth. Okay? Now the Lord has raised up, okay, an alliance to come against the whore. You see, it says in the spoil it, okay? It says, go up, O Elam, which is Iran, besiege, O Media, okay, which is Russia, all the sighing thereof have I made to cease. So no more of these nations just complaining about, the injustices of America. Nah, they bang it, they finna bang it out now. You see? They finna fight now, they finna go to war about it. You see? All the going to the UN and trying to get, some justice for, you see how America does now, man. These nations, they just preparing for war now. They're making war preparations now. Okay, that's their response, to American, all right, treachery. You see, and then America, what they tried to do, they tried to spoil Iran, do their regime change, and have full control of the Strait, but it didn't work. Okay, so now this nigga is entrapped in this war that's going to lead to the end of Esau's empire, man. Okay, the Lord got this thing mapped out beautifully, man. Okay, this is the brother servants of Yahweh Shah, Jeremiah 50:9. It says, "For lo, I will cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves, okay, in array against her." Yeah, so now you see that these nations, beginning with Russia, they're setting themselves in what? Battle formation against America, man. Okay, just as the scriptures say. So now what we're seeing, is Russia being a guard to these nations, their chief prince, Russia, their chief prince, the leader, okay, of this coalition. It's going to go against the West, man. You see, and it's going to leave America a desert, and you small hats in the land of Israel is going to be cleansed through fire, man. Okay, it says, "And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence shall she be taken. Their arrow shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain, man." Okay, and that's the nukes. All right, hitting those that what they call the PGM, precision guided munitions. Okay, all the technology comes from the Lord, man. For His will that He has against Babylon. Okay, and we're seeing these things build up that constantly escalate. All right, so now you have Russia. They put this high tech military plane in Iran just so they can have these high level conversations, man. Okay, and it's about war, and it's about taking America off the board. You see, we know what the conversation's about. The scriptures let us know what the conversation about. Okay. Yeah, man, that's heavy. As the brother says, the ability. All right, it's the brother Najim. It's all in 144. He said the ability to communicate with anything on the ground, in air, or water without interception. Yeah, man. Because communication is a high. Is a major part of war. And like I say, for Russia to put that plane in Iran, it's gonna take it to another level, man. Like I say, we know what these conversations are about. Okay, so only thing this thing can do is escalate. Like I say, no matter how many times they try to pause this thing, and it'd be Esau wanting to pause. Okay, it'd be Esau wanting to pause, man, because he getting belt to ass over there, man. He the one be wanting to pause and try to come in a different way, and try to pull this gimmick off. And, no, man. Okay, no, man. You see, you just got a deal. You in that trap now. Okay, now let's go here because there's another dynamic that's been added to the war. Now we know, all right, with Yemen. Let's see. I think this the one. Yep. So now Yemen, because the last war, Yemen didn't get involved. Okay, but now Yemen is involved now. Now they're going back and forth with Saudi Arabia as we speak. You had an incident with, so you had Houthi officials went to the funeral of the Ayatollah, the supreme leader that was assassinated. So Iranian Airlines, was bringing them back to Yemen. And Saudi Arabia, they blew up the landing strip, so they had to land somewhere else. Okay, so now since Saudi Arabia did that, and they're saying America put them up to it, now Yemen is beginning to strike Saudi Arabia. So now you have, two more players that's been pulled into this war, man. Now you have two more nations that are beginning to fight, and this is how world wars start. Okay, you get this nation come in, 2 weeks later, this nation might come in. Okay, then another nation come in, and this is how you get to a world war. By more nations, joining the conflict. Okay, because you got to pick a side. You're gonna be with the West, or you're gonna be with the kings of the East, man. Okay, them the two options, man. All right, the Lord God to where ain't no being neutral. Okay, so let's play this.
Struck Abha airport back. Saudi Arabia struck Sana'a airport. The Houthis struck Abha airport back. At the center of it, an Iranian aircraft that Saudi Arabia reportedly tried to stop from landing in Yemen. The Houthis are now warning all airlines to avoid Saudi airspace. Yemen's war never really ended. It just got absorbed into a bigger one, and now it's spreading again. The conflict in Yemen has entered a dangerous new phase, with Iran-backed Houthi rebels and the Saudi-led coalition exchanging direct attacks on key airports, threatening to unravel years of fragile de-escalation in the region. On July 13th, the Saudi-led coalition said it intercepted ballistic missiles launched by the Houthi rebels towards Saudi Arabia's southern region, shortly after an airstrike targeted Sana'a International Airport in Yemen's Houthi-controlled capital. Coalition spokesman Turki al-Maliki said Saudi air defenses successfully intercepted the incoming missile threat.
Air defenses intercepted a ballistic missile threat launched by the terrorist Houthi militia towards the southern region.
In a televised statement, the Yemeni movement's military spokesperson Yahya Sari strongly condemned the Sana'a airport strike.
At exactly 1:54 p.m. today, Monday, the Saudi enemy carried out a blatant act of aggression, using its warplanes against Sana'a International Airport, launching several airstrikes aimed at closing the airport to humanitarian flights, transporting patients and stranded passengers to and from Sana'a International Airport.
Sari said the Houthi rebels then carried out a military operation targeting Saudi Arabia's Abha International Airport with ballistic missiles.
In response to this criminal Saudi aggression, the Yemeni Houthi armed forces carried out a significant military operation targeting Abha International Airport with a number of ballistic missiles and drones. The operation successfully achieved its objectives by the grace of God.
No casualties were immediately reported, and Saudi officials did not comment on the Houthi claims. Sari also warned all airlines against flying over Saudi airspace, urging them to take the warning seriously until what he described as the blockade on Sana'a International Airport is lifted.
The airport runway was targeted.
Yeah, so now, you have Yemen and Saudi. They done revive, their, conflict that they was having. And they've been in war for years. America, armed the Saudis to go to war, against Yemen, for decades, but that has rekindled. You see? But now the Houthis are much stronger because they've been getting a lot. As China and Russia has been flooding Iran with weaponry. Iran has been able to flood their proxies with weaponry, to where the Houthi rebels have hypersonic missiles that can reach Israel. That's like 1,100 miles away. You see? So their capabilities have increased, and that's also part of the weak saying they're strong. Everybody, has leveled up because it's their time. Now, I just want to show y'all this real quick before we go to another aspect of it. But when you go here, because they saying, because the Saudis said they intercepted those missiles. Well, let's play this real quick.
The latest exchange follows heightened tensions after the Houthis accused Saudi Arabia of attempting to...
Hold on. It happened quick. Hold on.
After the Houthis accused Saudi Arabia...
Now you see this guy here. Okay. So I pay attention to this guy coming out the door. You just seen that door open. All right. And this guy, like I say, they're saying that they intercepted the missile. Well, I want y'all to tell this guy that. So just watch this.
Of attempting to block an Iranian aircraft carrying a Houthi delegation traveling to and from Tehran.
Ain't no way he made it. Ain't no way he made it. And they said they haven't, Saudi said they haven't reported no casualties. Shit, we just reported one. Shit, ain't no way he made it. Okay, I was watching it this morning. Well, damn, But this is just showing you where they at with it, man. All right. So let's let me see. I don't know if y'all seen it. Play it back one more time, man. God damn.
The latest exchange follows heightened tensions after the Houthis accused Saudi Arabia of attempting to block an Iranian aircraft carrying a Houthi delegation traveling to and from Tehran.
So you might got one foot out the door, So let's go from here because now, this, has the potential to cause more, interruptions with shipping, because the Red Sea is a vital shipping lane as well, and the Houthis have shown that they're able, to shut down, the Red Sea. Okay. So let's play this real quick.
Disruption would not stop at energy. Consumer goods, electronics, industrial parts, and food shipments could all face delays, creating supply chain bottlenecks and pushing prices even higher worldwide. Experts say this could become one of the biggest supply disruptions in modern history, potentially exceeding the speed and scale of previous oil crises, because today's global economy depends on tightly connected supply chains. For now, a complete and sustained blockade would be difficult to maintain because international naval forces could intervene, but even partial disruption has already proven capable of rattling markets and disrupting global trade. The bottom line is simple. If the Strait of Hormuz and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait are both significantly disrupted, the world could face a perfect storm of higher energy prices, rising inflation, shipping chaos, and slowing economic growth, with consequences that would be felt far beyond the Middle East. What happens if two of the world's most important maritime choke points are disrupted at the same time? That nightmare scenario is now back in focus as rising tensions around the Strait of Hormuz and fresh threats targeting the Bab el-Mandeb Strait raise fears of a historic global energy shock. Together, these two narrow waterways are among the most critical arteries of the global economy. The Strait of Hormuz carries around 20 to 21 million barrels of oil every single day. That is roughly 1/5 of the world's total petroleum supply. It is also a vital route for liquefied natural gas exports. Meanwhile, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait connects the Red Sea to the Gulf of Aden and serves as the southern gateway to the Suez Canal. Millions of barrels of oil pass through it daily, along with a huge share of global container shipping between Asia and Europe. If both routes are seriously disrupted together, the impact could be unprecedented. Oil shipments would slow dramatically. Tankers would be forced onto much longer routes around the Cape of Good Hope. transit times would increase by weeks. Shipping costs, fuel bills, and war risk insurance premiums would all surge. And this is not just a problem for oil importing countries. The United States may produce large amounts of oil, but global oil prices are set by international markets. That means Americans could still face higher gasoline prices, more expensive diesel, rising airline fares, and broader inflation across transportation, manufacturing, and food. Europe could face even greater pressure because of its heavier dependence on imported energy and trade through these routes. Analysts warn that in a prolonged crisis, oil prices could climb toward $150 to $200 a barrel. Financial markets could turn volatile, inflation could accelerate, and central banks would face difficult choices between controlling prices and supporting economic growth. The disruption would not stop at energy. Consumer goods, electronics, industrial parts, and food shipments could all face delays, creating supply chain bottlenecks and pushing prices even higher worldwide. Experts say this could become one of the biggest supply disruptions in modern history, potentially exceeding the speed and scale of previous oil crises, because today's global economy depends on tightly connected supply chains. For now,
Yeah, so we'll see, man, because I say Yemen is able to cut off, the Red Sea passage. We know the Strait, is already, been, downgraded ever since the war started. The traffic that's been coming through. So the elites, they're gonna have to just go with their move. They're gonna have to take the cars that they got and just go with their move, man. Because they gotta shut it down. They gotta shut down this old system and start a new one. Okay, to establish this new one, this technocracy, man. So it's getting interesting. You see, every time we see, the war starts back, it's another dynamic that's been added to it. Okay, so this whole Yemen Saudi thing, we'll see, how this going to play out. Russia's involvement with Iran. Russia has become more aggressive with Ukraine. Okay, because there's a push, because Ukraine has started to strike inside of Moscow. So now, there's more pressure, okay, on Russia, on Putin, to get more aggressive with Ukraine. Okay, the EU nations, they're finished. They're going through heat waves, and see all this shipping affects Europe a lot because Europe is a major import. All right, continent. So they're suffering from energy. They're suffering from, shipping, electronics, industrial parts. Okay, so the EU is in the bind. It's all because of America, man. That's why eventually everybody's just gonna shoot nukes on America, man. When you route the source of everything that's going on, is rooted all in America, man. And that's why all these nations are just gonna hit the button on America, man, and turn this place, to a desert, man. Okay, and then Howard Shah is gonna come and obliterate all of them. Man. Matter of fact, let's get that. Let's get that. Let's get that in Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse. Zephaniah 3 and 8. Okay, let's get this real quick. Let's get Zephaniah 3 and 8. It's a brother, Yashima tribe of Judah. Isaiah 33 and 1. It says, "Woe to thee." I say, "Woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled." And this woe is a destruction. And another word for woe is war. Okay, this third world war. Okay, in which America is going to get obliterated, man. The troops and the landmass. Okay, you see? It's the worst time ever to be a part of American military, man. Okay, it said, woe to thee that spoilest, and thou was not spoiled, and dealest treacherously, and they dealt not treacherously with thee." Because these nations would try to deal with America, man. But as it's been turned, by the Russian, foreign minister Lavrov, all right, that America is negotiation incapable. They're peace incapable. You know, it's incapable to have any type of negotiation of peace because there's corruption in all governments, and you know they're all down with the New World Order. You see, but America, man, it's like goddamn, you can't even make a simple deal with them. You know, you can't talk to them. They don't hold. You know, they agree on something, they don't hold to it. You know, America just been so used to doing what they want to do to where you know these other nations like this nigga got to go. You see, the Lord is pushing the narrative where these other nations are like, look, this nigga got to go, man. You know, it's like your homeboy, you can't tell nothing. This nigga want to fight everywhere you go. Like he can't just chill and enjoy the vibe and you know kick it. This nigga got to fight. He got to start something. You can't tell the nigga nothing. You know, and this is how America is acting on the global stage, man. The nigga that can't be told nothing, man, but they want to whoop everybody. Okay, this nigga still got knots on his head from last week, and he want to start some new, you know, some new beef the next week. It's like, nigga, we can't take this nigga nowhere, man. You know, and that's how these nations are looking at America, man. It says, and they dealt not treacherously with thee. When thou shalt cease to spoil, thou shalt be spoiled. Okay. And when thou shalt make an end to deal treacherously, they shall deal treacherously with you, man. Okay. So the Lord got it on these nations' spirit that they're getting ready to deal treacherously with America, man. They're going to take America off the map. You know, so when the devil gets to a certain point, all right, of his new world order, you know, and the Lord allow this man to get to a certain phase, okay, and the Lord allow this man get to a certain phase, these nations going to counsel his ass out, and then Yahweh Shai, he's going to counsel these nations out, man. Okay, that's why. Let's go here. Let's get it. This is the brother Yashima tribe of Judah, Zephaniah 3 and 8. It said, therefore wait ye upon me, said the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour out my indignation, even all my fury, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fury of my jealousy. Yeah, man. So the Lord is orchestrating this whole thing, man. You know, for these nations to take America off the board, and then Yahweh Shai gonna come take all the militaries of the world off the board. Okay? And that's going to be the end of wars forever. You see? Because the ultimate goal is a righteous kingdom being established in the earth, man. And we're just following the build up to that. You know, just to build up to Yahweh Shai. You know? So that's the point. You know, so we'll leave it there. You know, Lord will, you brothers. All right. And, you know, you few sisters tuning in. You know, we're edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Makakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples for his own brothers, and peace and blessings and salutations, hopefully. Shalom.